welcome you guys. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do the posable 5-foot skeleton that you buy at Walmart, Home Depot, or Lowe's, or on Amazon. The posable skeletons that you usually see. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me. Don't mind that. I have to do a voiceover on this tutorial since YouTube keeps blocking my videos because of the background music. So just bear with me. Ignore what I'm saying in the video right now because it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm saying right now. So we're going to start off here in a minute showing you the supplies you're going to need to do this, and it's pretty easy. First thing you're going to need is a table, a bunch of supplies. We're going to go over that here in a second. And most important thing is the skeleton, which is the 5-foot posable skeleton from, this one's from Walmart. They all pretty much look the same at Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, Amazon. It's all the same stuff. They're not the best quality, but they will work on what we're doing. I was showing in the video right just now that the hands are pretty much garbage and you can't do nothing with them. So you'll start off with distressing it with, I'm using flat black paint, the cheapest black flat paint you could find. And then we're going to work on to doing the staining, shrink wrap, and the corpsing technique. This one has cotton with latex. It's got the black wig that came from one of our props a few years ago. Have been laying around in a Tupperware container somewhere. This one's got more of a burnt, meaty look to it. This other one has more of a ancient Egyptian mummified look. That's using it's got the cotton and latex as well. This tutorial video is not going to have that. This one's also sporting real human hair that comes from a cosmetology doll that you can pretty much pick up from Sally's or online. So these are just some examples of what we got going on, how they first start, and kind of how it goes from there. You see on the inside, this one has the use a lot of the black spray paint on the inside. Now here we got our table. It is a 5-foot by 3-foot, I think Rubbermaid fold-up table. It pretty much collapses down. Put some cardboard on it because you're gonna get a lot of stain and paint. If you don't care, then whatever. So first thing you're gonna need is obviously a bunch of rags, something kind of durable. That one, you could tell it's been used quite a bit for dabbing the stain on the skeletons after you stain them. And you can pick these up at pretty much any auto parts store. Yeah. Here's a cosmetology head. Like I said, has real human hair. You could pick those up online. You could go to Sally's, I believe, have them. We have a different variety of spray paints, Krylon, Rust-Oleum. You don't have to use those brands. I prefer cheap, flat black. They used to be 99 cents a can. Now they're about $3 a can. I use the lacquer thinner to clean the paint brushes that I use quite a bit of. I'll use them for a while until they just get so beat up I throw them away. Q-tips for detailing around the teeth and the eye sockets. Variety of stain. This Rust-Oleum brand is really good. It's a cognac color. It's more of a stain paint. This one's polyurethane walnut. We got pine, and then we have oak. Those are Minwax. They're more of a glossier stain. We have a latex caulking, cotton balls. By the hundreds. You get those at Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Family Dollar, Walmart, anywhere. I use a Dollar General acetone. We have latex caulking in a mixing cup with inside of a Ziploc bag. I just seal it up when I'm not using it. We got some wig hair, different lengths, colors. Just chop off what you need, throw it in a bag, save it for later. The acetone pump right there, you just pump it up. It's for taking your nail polish off, but I use it for my little mini brushes. I just pump it and dip my brush in. Plastic wrap you get pretty much anywhere for a couple bucks. This is if you can't find, painter's plastic at your, Family Dollar or whatever. I use that. It's only a couple bucks. It's 9 foot by 12 foot. Makes a whole lot. I'll cut that up into strips. Scissors to cut that up. Paintbrushes again, cost like $1 a piece. Fine detailing brush for getting in between like the teeth and inside like the ribs when I do the blood. I soak them in a ceramic cup, because if you use a plastic solo cup or styrofoam cup, the lacquer thinner will eat through it. So use something durable. Latex, nitrile gloves, whatever your preference is. Cheaper, $10. Black & Decker heat gun, $20 Walmart. Spray adhesive. The 3M takes a little bit longer to get tacky. It's about $12 a can. I found it at the hardware store. The Gorilla Glue works pretty good. It dries really fast though. It's about $11 a can at Walmart. And you can pretty much buy all this stuff at Walmart. That's pretty much your go-to place to get all this stuff. So it's about $60 I spent today on just materials. It's enough to do a few of the corpses. I will have to re-up on plastic wrap, but most of the other stuff will last quite a while. So once you have it, you have it. But paintbrushes, you will go through after a while. The cosmetology head, you'll have to buy one of those eventually. So we'll get you set up, and then we'll start doing some distressing. Now this is the first step to doing the skeleton. You want to black out pretty much the areas where you can't get with the paintbrush and the stain. I try to get all the nuts and bolts in between the ribs, the back of the rib cage, anywhere the brush can't reach. And this just gives it a more distressed look. It doesn't make it look so clean and neat like it just came from the store. So one thing I hate about these skeletons, they just look so white when you get them, because most people aren't gonna go all out and try to make them look realistic. So you want to get in there and kind of hit those areas that didn't come like that from the factory. Inside the jaw, I like to put the heat gun in there, heat up as much of that as I can, and then I'll take the butt of a screwdriver and stick it up inside the mouth and kind of create that cavity. Gives it a more realistic look inside the skull. But yeah, that's pretty much what you want it to look like after you get done painting it. It don't have to be perfect, but you want to paint and wipe, paint, wipe, paint, wipe, and just keep going as quick as you can. Some paint dries really fast, some paint doesn't. So you kind of want to work quick. You want to spray it on and wipe it off pretty much as fast as you put it on. And then I'll wax on, wax off. But yeah, you can see inside the jaw how it's got a little bit more definition to it. Definitely makes it look creepy. On these other ones, one I forgot to do. I was kind of impatient. Been a while since I did it, so I was just kind of rushing through it. The other one I did take a little bit more time, distressing the jaw, dislocating it, and reattaching it, going over the teeth with the lacquer thinner, and then some lighter stain to give it a little more used look. You don't want them to look so white, like they got dentures. You want them to look pretty aged. So this is going to be the first stages of staining. There's going to be multiple layers of stain, and then shrink wrap, and then more stain, and then it just keeps on going over and over and over again. So this is pretty much the process here. The first stain that I did get, I didn't like, so I went ahead and mixed it in with another stain that I already had, which was a dark walnut, so it just mixed the two together. So I think this is like I think the pine and walnut mixture, it actually gave it a little bit of gloss to it. The walnut was more like a satin finish. When I added the pine to the satin, it gave it more of a gloss. It's got more shine to it. This is kind of like the same thing you want to do, like the spray paint. You kind of want to put it on heavy and then just kind of wipe it off or dab it, depending on what kind of stain it is. Some you could just brush on, wipe off, and it stains the plastic. Some it actually just wipes right off. So you want to dab it on there and kind of test try it, an area, and see what it's going to do, because all stain is different. Every brand is different. They use different chemicals. Some's more of like a paint stain. Some of it's like a polyurethane that soaks in, and you wipe it off. But this one was a little bit different, but it still came out pretty decent. I like the results. It just does, this particular stain does take a long time to dry. It says on the can 2 hours. That's if you're putting it like on wood. This is going on straight hard plastic, so it's going to take a lot longer to dry than it would wood. Wood, it soaks in and it doesn't take long, at all to dry. This one, I actually left it hanging in the garage for about 2 hours. I did have to go inside and charge my phone for a while. So after my phone was charged, I came back out, and it was still pretty tacky. So what I went ahead and did is just hit it real hard and let it sit for another couple hours. And that's another one that I got to do. It's going to be a darker stain. I think I'm going to use I use the Cognac Rust-Oleum brand, which I recommend to anybody if you really want to do it, quick and get it out there. It works great. So yeah, we got a couple others that we're going to start working on here pretty soon that just got dropped off yesterday. But this one with the cognac, I love the texture of this stain. It just really looks more realistic to me. And throwing a little black spray paint here and there definitely gives it a little bit more detail. with this kind of stuff. You really don't have to be, professional at doing it. It's messy. It takes time. I think right here is about to start the cling wrap process. We're going to use the spray adhesive and the plastic drop cloth, painter's plastic on it. And what I like to do is pretty much start from the feet and work my way up to the legs, to the pelvic bone, the spine. The plastic I have rolled out and ready to cut into little sections because it is 12 foot long and you don't want to wrap this thing with a 12 foot long piece. So just cut it up into like little strips and it's a little bit easier to handle. I'm trying to do it outside, but there's no wind. I got the fan off so it's not blowing all over because this stuff, it will stick to pretty much anything on that skeleton because it's still pretty tacky. So what we'll do is we'll just leave all the pieces inside and then go and grab them one by one as you need them. If you got to cut them in half, and just start working your way around the skeleton. So it's sometimes easier just take that one long piece, cut it in half, and spray your glue on there, let it get tacky, and just start working your way around, each bone at a time. Just take your time and just make sure the whole thing's wrapped really good. So it's just a quick time lapse. It does take a few minutes to get it done, so I went ahead and cut to the chase and just did a quick time lapse on that. There is a couple of questionable times in there, but yeah, it is it's pretty easy to do, and it's pretty much what the results would be after applying the drop cloth on there. And you just want to make sure you kind of spray in little spots to make sure it all adheres to each other, especially if you're overlapping any pieces. Give it a little spritz and then stick it on real good. Make sure it's pretty dry before you go back and hit it with the heat gun. But I mean, once you get it, start going, it starts to come together, and you really start, seeing the detail in it. Now right here, it's another time lapse is just throwing the heat gun on there. You want to just work your way up and down each bone, getting all the way around it, both sides. If you want to blow some holes through there, great. It looks cool like that. It looks stretchy. It looks like, the flesh is like tearing off of the bone. I'll take a razor blade, cut through the ribs, and give it a little bit more detail. I put my heat gun on high and just run around it real quick. You don't want to leave it on there way too long because then it'll pretty much evaporate all the plastic wrap that's on there. You want to still keep it pretty solid, but you want to have the detail of the holes through the bones, and especially around the skull and the rib cage. That's like the most important. That's where most people focus on anyways. And a lot of people like to put clothes on them and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on with this one after it leaves, but sometimes I'll take a little spray glue and go over the bones, and you just want to take a your cotton balls, kind of dab that spray glue with the cotton balls, and it leaves a little bit of that fluff behind. And then after that dries, you're gonna dab it with that stain, because you're gonna go over the whole thing again with stain. There's never ending with the stain. You're always staining everything. You go back and stain or paint or stain or paint. It's like never ending. So just dab those cotton balls on there, dab the stain, go back, hit the shrink wrap again, Right here we're gonna do like the forehead, because we're gonna put some hair, but we want it to look like the hair is pulling from the actual meat on the skeleton, the flesh. So you kind of want to build that up with some cotton balls. The more cotton and glue you use, the higher the build's gonna be. It just gives it more, more definition, more realistic. So I learned this technique from watching another YouTuber, Twig Rot. He makes professional props, and his stuff is really, really realistic. If you ever get a chance, check him out on YouTube as well. So now that we got this guy all prepped and ready to go for another layer of stain, I think I let him sit outside and dry probably for another hour. We're going to go ahead and start adding the stain and hit all those areas with the cotton, and just start adding more and more stain. And if you miss a spot with the stain, where you can't reach, keep you a can of the flat black handy and just give it a little spritz. It's not going to hurt the stain at all. It just gives it more definition. It just makes it look even more creepy, and the stain sticks to the flat black really good and almost makes like another color. So you just keep going back and hitting it with that stain. Work your way in all the little grooves and spots. This is the fun part. It really starts to come to life whenever you put the stain over the plastic wrap. And every time you add stain, it keeps getting darker and darker and more texture and more realistic. And it gets funner as you go. You just keep having fun, You could add different colors of stain, to that. It doesn't always have to be the same color. I like to kind of mix and match and go back and forth between stains. And it just makes it more unique. You can see right there on the skull how the stain had soaked into the cotton balls, and the cotton just gives it a whole nother texture versus the plastic wrap. And in between some of the coats, I'll kind of frost over it with a little bit of the flat black. So when I do add another layer of stain to it, it adheres to that black paint. As you can see, I did the inside of the feet because or the bottom side, because they were just too white. I don't know if they're going to be visible or not, but you just want to make sure it's not so white. That's what I hate about the teeth. I kind of roll up the shrink wrap around like the gum lines, and then I'll clean up those teeth real good with the Q-tips and the acetone. That's what I have, the little pump. I just pump a little bit in there, dip my Q-tip in, and we'll clean the paint and stuff off the teeth and the stain, and then we'll go back and use a different color stain, like a lighter stain. You don't want to look so white like these. These are some that somebody had dropped off. They want that one to be a little bit more detailed. They don't want it all corpsed and gross and gruesome looking. They just want this one to have a little bit more detail. Right here I'm explaining how the inside of the mouth looks really cheap. That's why we use that heat gun and blow through the inside, so it's gives the teeth more definition. You can actually grab them and paint in between the each individual tooth with a fine brush. Just detail. It's all about the detail. Right here I'm explaining the how the stain soaks in with the plastic, and while I was using the heat gun in between staining and painting, it just kind of absorbs everything together and sucks the paint and the stain into the plastic, and just creates like a more depth to it. So that's pretty much what you want it to look like. You could go and get wild and add more and more stain. It's all about personal preference. I'm really not like an artistic type of person. It's just what I've been doing for years. It's, we started doing just basic skulls. The bag of skulls you get at Home Depot for $20. They come with I think 4 skulls in there. And we'd go out in the garage and we'd corpse a skull and get it. It'd take us 2 days to do it because the latex and the cotton balls takes a while to dry. This is what it looks like the day after. Let it hang up in the garage with the fan on it, and it was still pretty tacky in some areas. Well, I guess where I hit it pretty heavy with the stain. This was that polyurethane stain, and this was my mess from the night before. So in this section where you're going to take we're going to take some hair, and we are actually going to cut off a section and have that ready so whenever we attach it, because it is human hair and we want it to be gross. So after we apply the hair, we're going to go over those areas where we apply the hair with the cotton balls, and that just kind of camouflages the areas where it's adhered to the skull, and then we'll go back over that with the stain, and it'll almost look like the hair is actually attached to the skull with skin, because it's all kind of going to be the same color. The cotton and the actual shrink wrap. So this is just a quick spray, dab the hair on. I grab a couple of inches worth of the hair, a good sized pinch, and do a little bit, start from the very bottom and then just work your way up higher. I usually don't do the whole skull. I do it pretty much like a horseshoe shape around the back side. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going in and detailing the teeth, giving a little spray paint here and there, cleaning up the gum line, cleaning up the teeth. I brushed on a little stain, give the teeth a little bit more distressed look. You don't want them to be so white. Obviously, if you got pulled out of the grave, your teeth are going to be a whole lot lighter than the rest of your skeleton, because your skeleton's going to be able to soak up all that blood and juice and grossness. But your teeth are made out of enamel, and they usually don't soak up any of that stuff unless you're been smoking and drinking coffee your whole life. Your teeth are going to obviously be brown and yellow. And this is showing where the cotton balls come into play with the hairline. It's where you want to spray it and dab it. And also using that spray glue to kind of keep the hair in place, because it does want to stick to your gloves. So you just want to give it a little spray and kind of pat it down while you're doing it. But it's really starting to take take on a different form from what it was when we first started. It was just real cheap looking. The stuff you get at the Halloween store, they all look so cheap. Yeah, the smoker lady. So it's definitely come a long way from what it was. And sometimes I'll get inside those rib cages and I have like a dark red paint and I'll kind of mist it in there. Kind of gives it a little fleshy look, kind of bloody, fleshy, meaty look inside the rib cage. I don't go too crazy with the red when I'm doing these, unless it's going to be like a fresh, gory corpse that's got the great stuff, expanding foam, guts hanging out of it. This is doing a little fine, touch-up painting with this is car paint. This is a Nissan Altima red that I wound up getting from a local body shop. They were getting rid of a whole bunch of paint that they couldn't, they didn't have no use for it. It messed up on the paint, so they just gave me a whole box. But I love this color. It's super bloody red looking. It's the closest thing to actual like fake blood that I could find. I don't like buying that stuff from the store because I think it's a water based and it will wash off if they get rained on. So I like to use everything that's safe for being outside, which is polyurethane or lacquer type products. That's why it's really good to soak those cotton balls down too, so they don't fall off. If these things get stuck out in the rain, you don't want it to fall apart. Here's a close-up of that red Nissan Altima metallic red. It's such an awesome color. I'm trying to show what the paint code is in case anyone's curious if they ever wanted to get it. That can by itself would be about $200 if you went and had it mixed. You could probably get away with getting like a pint. I think that's a quart right there. It's a quart can. But it just looks like real, like fresh blood, like you just drained it out of, out of a body. It's got that kind of like little sparkle to it too. Sometimes I go around the gum lines and just go around all like the loose areas of the plastic wrap, just on the inside, just a little bit here and there. You don't want to get too crazy with it, unless you want it to look super bloody and gross. But full skeletons, they wouldn't be all bloody if you pulled it out of a grave. They're going to look pretty dry, and depending on where you live, if you lived in Louisiana, your corpse is going to be a little bit more wet and juicy. If you lived out in Egypt, it's going to be a little bit more dry and crusty looking. But I think on this one is pretty much finished. I think all we got left to do on it is a little fine tuning with the black spray paint. We just go inside those rib cages a little bit more and just kind of frost over some areas that didn't get touched. These two are going to be the one on the left's already sold and just getting ready to get picked up. The one on the right, he's going to get worked on here real soon. I'm going to try to make a new video, and we're going to start doing the latex caulking mixed with water and cotton balls. We're actually going to use the creepy cloth and the medical gauze, because the medical gauze looks pretty much like miniature creepy cloth, and it's going to adhere really good with the latex caulking. So that's going to be for a whole nother video. So this one is pretty much done. We're going to let him dry probably overnight, and then we'll get him out of the way. Tomorrow we will start a whole new video, and I will try to explain as best as I can how that works. So appreciate it.